You're listening to For the Republic, a love letter to Star Wars animation.
Hello there.
All right, everyone, welcome back to our Obi-Wan Kenobi recaps here on the For the Republic podcast. What an episode we have to talk about this week. I am one of your hosts, Andrew. I am joined again by Jake, Don, Connor, and Chloe is back with us, actually on the panel this time. How are you?
I am doing well. I am tired, but you know what? I'm excited to be here. I haven't gotten to talk about Kenobi with anybody since I watched it yesterday, which is like more than 24 hours now. I've had to go into work and be silent twice, so I am ready to talk.
How have you held it in? Like, honestly.
You know, I work with some dangerous equipment, so I just have to remind myself that, I need to be careful, and then I have to just put it in the back of my head, but it's not been easy.
Yeah, even I with like a house full of like non-Star Wars fans last night had to just be like, yeah, so I was crying at 3 a.m. last night and my eyes were bloodshot. And they're like, Kenobi, and I was like, yeah, and all right, well, they knew. So, yeah.
I understood.
This episode...
It's like that meme where like you get the text from your dad, like, why are you crying so loud up there?
I saw Anakin again, okay, Dad? It's excuse it, okay? So
Padawan braid and everything.
Yeah, no, that was just insane.
Oh my God.
This episode was just wonderful, and I think all of us here have loved the series overall, but there's a portion of the crowd, of course, that just was not patient at all. It was like, where are our answers? Well, we got them. And this was just such a great episode to watch, and I have like fought myself to not rewatch it since my first watch through, because
I've watched it 5 times.
of course you have.
Yes, you should.
Christ. I mean,
I
It's
have
been like
rewatched
36
so many
hours. I've
times.
watched it 5
I was
times.
gonna watch it again last night, but I was like, but I'm gonna watch it again.
Twice.
I'm gonna watch it
God,
again
like-
tonight.
I have watched the flashbacks alone. Like
I
at
have
least
watched the
10
flashbacks
times.
alone like 15 times.
Oh,
but the
if
full
we're
episode,
counting Reva
Edits.
versus Vader, yeah, that's been like 10 times.
I've been watching edits on TikTok.
that too. Yep, this
So
is
many edits.
this is yeah. So
It's
we're
amazing.
we're all doing this that way.
fans.
Yes.
So should we just start with that right off the bat? Of
Oh, let's start with that.
Absolutely.
We've been wondering, when are we getting
Like,
these
literally-
flashbacks?
When it was just a shot of the city,
I knew it right away.
my first thought was, oh, we're on Alderaan. Cool. And then it just starts panning back, and then we see the braid, and then we see Anakin's hair, and I'm like, no, fuck, we're
Yeah.
starting with flashbacks, baby.
Oh, I knew it was.
Um,
I knew it was Coruscant immediately. I was like,
Yeah.
See, my first thought was thinking back to that guy 6 months ago on Twitter that told me that they have to de-age Anakin or else it'll look like shit. I was like, fuck you, random Twitter guy.
he looked great, man.
He did look so good.
I could
I mean,
How
definitely
has it
tell.
been 20 years and he can still look like that? Like, I don't understand that.
Literally, they both jumped into those roles so well after 20 years. Like, that's just insane.
And the lightsaber skills, like,
Yeah.
oh,
Right?
The choreography was
literally-
nuts. The fact that Ewan slipped back into his Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith action.
Yes.
I love that it
Yeah.
was before
Phenomenal.
Attack of the Clones. Like,
I thought
Yeah.
that was a wonderful
Someone put
detail,
out on
yeah.
Twitter,
Yeah.
you know that scene, the scene in Attack of the Clones where Anakin and Obi-Wan are going up to meet Padme, and Anakin hasn't seen her
In the
like 10
elevator?
years.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the elevator. Someone theorized, like, what if that scene in Kenobi was like a bit before that? I'm like,
Oh, like
ooh.
right before it.
Probably,
Yeah.
to be
Like,
honest.
really-
Yeah.
oh.
it really tracks because like I also saw someone point out the building that Anakin is looking at when the scene opens is the apartment building where Padme lives.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like it would make sense. Absolutely, it would absolutely make sense that that scene is like just after they've been assigned to protect her, and like just before they go and visit her, and he sees her again for the first time. Because, like, I mean, that's very Anakin. You know, he's just like there pining away for Padme.
Yep.
I just,
What do you know?
I was so surprised by like where they chose to do it, because we've all obviously been like so many people like speculating about the Kenobi series, myself included, were like, oh, they've got to do Clone Wars era flashbacks. They've got to put them in the Clone Wars armor, and they've got to have them like fight with like the clones and Ahsoka and Rex. But I've never been happier to be to be proven wrong, because like by going back to Attack of the Clones, it's very clever.
The way that
Because
they
It made
use
so
the
much more sense
flashbacks
for the
too,
story.
with
Yes, because it's relevant to the story as well. It like the whole duel, the dialogue and everything. Yes, it feels
There's-
on its own like it's this scene that could have just
It
happened
feels
on its
forced.
own. But then it also feels like a metaphor, yeah, where like that it's almost like through this episode in the present, this is almost like a conversation Anakin and Obi-Wan could be having with each other right then, because it
Yeah, because
applies.
it really
Yeah.
felt like they were both reminiscing on that moment
Yeah.
simultaneously.
I loved that both of
Exactly.
them were
I felt like it
experiencing
was
these
more
memories at the
Vader.
same time.
Yeah,
I thought that,
exactly.
but there was a couple cuts where it started with Obi-Wan, like when he was
Oh,
like,
yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
I forget exactly
Yeah.
what he said, but it was like, oh, we've lost whatever, and then he looked back on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or
For me.
there are ways to win without fighting, or whatever the line
Right.
was.
Or other
Yeah.
ways to
Mhm.
And when he
fight.
says, "Oh, Vader hasn't the patience for a siege," and Roken asks him, "How do you know?" and then it flashes back to them sparring
That
again.
was so good.
Mhm.
It's just
That was
really
insane.
cool. And
That's
like you
incredible.
both said, the fact that Hayden and Ewan both just like slipped back into those roles, it was just really
It was
cool.
like
And
they had never
also,
left.
I love
it's
that it
just
was
ingenious.
everything too. Like they had even like Anakin's and Obi-Wan's like Attack of the Clones sabers too.
Oh,
Yeah.
inside I squeed a little bit, like when I realized that they had Ewan was using his Phantom Menace Attack of the Clones
Yes.
because I've got
I
I've
love
got
that
fond memories
saber.
of that
Getting
thing.
that
It's so
Ewan
cool.
look again is just. I mean, we've had Mullet Kenobi in the show, which has been great, but
Mullet
like
Wan Kenobi.
the
Oh my
Attack of the
god.
Clones
I
one,
love the mullet.
so good. And just the line like, "Are you ready?" and Anakin being like, "Are you?" I'm like, "That he's back, he's
I
back."
know.
And it just
Can we just talk about though too, like Hayden's smile after he thought he won, and then Ewan's smile when
Yeah.
the fight was really over? Like, oh my god, those are like that was the smile that he gave Anakin before he left to go to
Yeah.
Utapau. Like,
that
It
was
was the
and that
same
was
exact one.
that was
Such
like
attention to
Anakin
it
detail.
at
hurts.
and Anakin's smile was like the one at the meadow with Padme
Yeah.
and Naboo.
Yeah.
And he goes,
Yep.
Padme.
It all feels very intentional there.
And then the Obi-Wan putting his hand on Anakin's shoulder at the end. I'm like, no, no! Like I literally, like I honestly, when I saw Anakin, like I made like a tweet like, oh yeah, I was hyperventilating. That was not a joke. I was
No,
legit
yeah.
like freaking out, screaming like it was bad. Like I don't know how I didn't
That's
wake up my entire
exactly
house.
how you do. That's exactly how you do fan service, though. Like it actually mattered to the story, and we all get to squeal over seeing like our favorite characters back on screen
Yeah.
like that for the first time in 20 years.
And it
Like,
wasn't.
Absolutely.
I just-
oh, that was
cannot-
perfect.
We got those
Can I
fast
also
flashbacks,
mention-
and then we got pain ones later, which we will definitely talk about.
I just
Oh,
cannot
yes.
get
And-
over the fact that the Obi-Wan and Anakin flashbacks that we got in this episode were used so exquisitely as a storytelling device.
Not only
I
applies to
cannot get
them,
over
it
that.
also applies to Reva as well. Like it literally just it fits. It literally
Mhm.
applies to all three of them, and the parallels are like, oh, it's amazing. One thing I will mention as well is Hayden's performance in this is great, because not only is he doing, has he basically slipped right back into that same energy that he had in the prequels, like we talked about. He also kind of incorporated a bit of Matt Lanter's
Yeah.
vocal performance,
Sounds
like
a
when he's
lot like him.
yeah, like when he says mercy doesn't beat an enemy master, that's why you're gonna lose. I kind of like I felt surprised because I was like, oh wow, he's merging the two there. He's merging the two different.
Yeah, the aggression was
performances.
very much like
Yeah.
reminiscent
It was-
of Matt's.
Exactly.
It's really cool. Like
Yeah,
that, watching
100%.
all of the Clone Wars paid off
There's this-
for Hayden.
There's like literally every single line of dialogue in that flashback sequence was phenomenal. And like
Yeah.
I know we
It
all
was
love
so
George
well
Lucas.
written.
I know we all
favorite
love
was-
George. We all know that his dialogue isn't necessarily the greatest. Listen, Joby, Andrew, if y'all want to write an Obi-Wan and Anakin series or limited series, all for it.
I mean,
But,
I understand
Same.
just having
Yes.
him as a writer on this one is just so crazy. He's written or directed like some of the best Pixar movies of all time. So
Finding Nemo.
yeah, Finding Nemo, Wall-E, like
Yep.
keep listing them.
I
Like
fucking love Wally.
it's just
I love
Great.
Wall-E
he is
too.
such a like. It's so great having like these talented creatives a part of this show. Can I just take the time now, in case we don't get to it later, to just say thank you, Deborah Chow, for everything that you've done with
Yes,
this series.
queen.
Yes,
She is
absolutely.
We are
just-
recording this on her birthday.
well. Happy birthday,
Happy
Deborah!
birthday,
You just
Happy
Happy
Deborah.
birthday.
you just created
thank
maybe
you.
the best Star Wars episode of TV I've ever seen in my life. So I am
Seriously.
eternally
Yep.
grateful. And
I'm just eternally grateful
yeah.
for this entire
for
show,
all
man.
that doubted
Oh,
what this show could be, you were proven wrong. With the, I
Yeah.
mean, in my mind, you were proven wrong the first episode. But for those that were still like, I don't know where this is going, like, why aren't they telling us about Riva? Why aren't we getting these flashbacks? Yeah, there you go. And that's why
I'm really
think,
intrigued to
Yeah.
see what people complain about now that we've gotten all the things that they were complaining that we haven't gotten yet.
Oh,
Well,
they'll
like-
probably just
they'll
like
shift
Yeah,
like
they'll
the
come up with
audience
something.
why
They
didn't they?
probably just
always
talk about the audience
do.
So
score
like,
on
oh,
Rotten Tomatoes.
predictable. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, look, the audience score is lower now. That must mean that the show is automatically bad because you know that thing never gets review bombed or anything.
Right. Never heard of
Yeah.
review bots.
Everything gets review bombed at this point. Like Miss Marvel
Honestly.
just got review bombed. This got review bombed. It's like, come on. Like,
Well, we see the pattern here, guys.
yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys
Yeah,
aren't
anyway,
slick.
But
Deborah, we know you're not listening, but like, A, happy birthday. Hope it was great. B, come on to the show. We want to talk to you.
yes.
Connor, no, we can't have anybody come on. You got Matt Miknovitz in trouble.
I'll do it legally this time.
All right. But
One of y'all will do it legally.
the one
Anyways,
thing I
one of the
loved
lines-
with this flashback, the first one that we got, is just
Yeah.
the way it immediately, the duel starts, they clash sabers, then it just immediately cuts to Vader. I just thought that was such a great transition. And then we get
The editing in this episode is just so good. Like,
Yeah.
The
I'll
whole
just
series has really had it, though.
Yeah, like this
Honestly,
episode in
yeah.
particular just like stood out to me. It's like you said, Andrew, that cut from the sabers clashing to Vader's face. It's just like, whoa, chef's kiss. Great.
definitely.
And this is really why, like, I just love that most of these, not all of them, but like most of them are like just in Vader's head. And the one line in particular that really strikes me is, "You're a great warrior, Anakin, but your need to prove yourself is your undoing. Until you overcome it, a Padawan you will still be." And to me, that
Yeah.
drives
yes.
home the point that, like, Vader still sees himself as the learner.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, and
That's
see,
where
for
that
all
line
the
from A New
people,
Hope really comes from, I feel like.
yes,
Yeah.
and all the people. This is again. Let's see. People were complaining when they first announced that
And I think it's
Vader,
really gonna come
Yes.
home in in their duel.
because he is still the learner. Because we see in this episode, because this is the thing. This is what's interesting about Vader, because he has learned some things, but he is still in the same position in a way, even while he
Yeah.
has taken some things from Obi-Wan, as we see later in the episode during his duel with Reva. But he is still needing to prove himself. And that's the thing, because like Hayden said in that interview, didn't he, that Vader was disappointed in Obi-Wan in that previous duel. Because he's in this kind of Goku mindset, I feel like, where he wants to fight Obi-Wan at his best. He's been dreaming of that moment of reuniting with his former master and making him suffer and having a well-earned victory. And then it was too easy. It's like Kylo Ren killing Han Solo. He thought in Force Awakens, he thought it would bring him this kind of like this triumphant feeling of resolution, and it doesn't. If anything, he just feels hollow and even more bitter, which is like, it is underscored even more like with the final flashback when Obi-Wan says that exact line, Connor, which also was my favorite line of the flashbacks, for the record. It's all so very well done, and I cannot praise the writing enough. in that department.
Mm-hmm.
I can't either. And like again, it's just the fact that like I will never get over the fact that these flashbacks were used phenomenally. It reminds me a lot of Fallen Order and just how the flashbacks were used in that story. It's basically the same thing. It informs us of the present story between a master and an apprentice while also telling its own story in the past between the same master and apprentice. And also the other thing, and I think all of us know this, but like it just occurred to me like yesterday. I feel like the fact that we're seeing Vader just be an absolute tank throughout the show. It's just not only because of the cool factor, it's just to also show that like no matter like even if Obi-Wan is at the pinnacle of his Jedi-ness, there's no fucking way he's beaten Vader. There's no way.
I would like to point. I
like
would like to once again point out
in a straight fight, like saber to saber. I do not. No, I do not see it happening.
See, because last week we said that we might have to place bets on who wins that duel, and I
still think it's Vader.
We said beforehand that we weren't going to do predictions for next week, but I think we still got to do that.
I'm still betting on Obi-Wan for the record.
I'm betting on Kenobi here.
He forfeited that match on the Death Star. He never strictly lost that. He let himself be killed so that the others would leave. He was holding his own against Vader. So like I think Obi-Wan will come out top here.
Yeah, I just,
for sure.
The way that I think
he's gonna pull a Godzilla. I think it's gonna be King Kong versus Godzilla. You know, Obi-Wan wins the first one, Vader wins the second. Obi-Wan brings it home with the third match.
We'll see. I'm very, very hyped. And I thought we were going to get it in this episode near the end, but then they faked us out, and I'm glad they did. Because they gave us something else.
We got the best
still not ready.
Fight
He's dual-wielding Vader, but we will get to that. We got the early setups here. The episode does a great job at showing just how much, like we've talked about, how much Vader is just still just stuck on just finding Kenobi at all costs. Like, he literally cannot get over that hump. Even 10 years later, he still is that former Padawan that we see in these flashbacks that can't get over his own aggression and his own arrogance in a way. But that's just the one thing I love about Anakin and Vader's character is just this is still on his mind. But then we see that
the show is really the perfect blend of like Anakin and then like the Vader that we see in the originals. I feel like this is like the first time, other than like literature, obviously, where like that's really been on display. Like this feels like Anakin in the suit, and it's so sick.
But I am so glad that we actually got to see Hayden like in flashback form here, because they have been heavily promoting Hayden Christensen so much. So in my mind, I was like, if they're just gonna have him in the Vader suit and it's just gonna be James Earl Jones the whole time, like I feel like they need to do something with them, and I'm glad that they did, and they used it in such a great way that benefited the story so much, like we've talked about, that I couldn't have asked for it to go better. But we see
Which I have to wonder, too, if these flashbacks, not to cut you off again, Andrew, but I almost have to wonder if these flashbacks are a little bit of like a backdoor teaser for what we might see in Ahsoka, because isn't it rumored that show's supposed to be somewhat flashback heavy, too?
Yeah.
And we know Hayden's coming back for that.
We know Hayden's coming back. I always assumed Hayden would show up as a Force ghost in that one, but flashbacks are always very much a possibility.
It's going to be both, I think, because we'll see. I imagine Ahsoka will reflect on like a few lessons he taught her, and then that's probably when they'll do a flashback and put Hayden in the Clone Wars armor, so everyone like loses their shit.
That's when I think we'll get the first convo between a redeemed Anakin and Ahsoka, and that is going to destroy me.
They're gonna give us Hayden in the Clone Wars armor eventually.
Eventually,
now that he's back, there's no way they're not gonna.
At least we're getting live action like clone troopers, which we've seen now for the third time in the series.
A lot of them,
yeah.
So more of.
I love what they did with the armor. It's so
more
sick.
of those, please.
It looks very gleaming, very very shiny and like perfect compared to the like more like because the stormtroopers gear is deliberately cheaper and like shoddier, so I like that the stormtroopers still look cool, but the clone troopers almost look more shiny and like refined because
Yeah.
they're from a more noble period. Well,
I don't know if you
compromise.
guys have seen some of the stunt workers that actually wore the armor on set have been posting like a lot of like the close-ups of the armor on Instagram, and
I need to have
like
a
you
look.
said, Don, the work that they put into this armor is like insane. Like they were
Yeah.
able to like take those goofier proportions that the prequels used, because it's impossible for a human body to actually fit into those CG models. Like it just, the proportions are not
Yeah.
there, but like they made it work with this armor, and like it looks so authentic to like the prequels, but like we know that there's actual humans under there, and like that's so freaking cool. I love
Yeah,
what
no,
they're
that's
able to do
that's
with
so
stuff.
awesome.
Yeah, it would have been so easy to just make them CGI again, for
Right,
that
because we've
sequence,
already
but they-
seen that.
And I'm
'Cause
glad they
they made them
didn't,
practical.
because it adds so much more. Just seeing them.
Hmm. It's so much more tangible, and it just feels much more real, and it's really satisfying to like finally see it after so long.
Oh, 100%. But the one thing that we also see in this opening scene with Vader is more hints at what's coming later with Reva. Vader gives her the title of Grand Inquisitor, and as we see, it's all a part of Vader's plan. Like it's
Yeah.
like, oh,
Well, an
why would
orchestration.
Vader keep her alive? How does Reva know that Vader is Anakin without getting killed? Well, again, we'll keep seeing this happen as the episode goes on.
Yeah, like literally this one episode dealt with at least 5 different like complaints that have been like cropping up episode to episode. Like, oh, why did this happen? Like, oh, this kind of feels like it conflicts, and the whole time everyone's been saying just wait and see. The show will deal with it.
It's a
and it actually
story,
has.
assholes. It's
And
coming
this is-
eventually.
This, I think, is the culmination of 2 things. One is the post-Endgame fans just wanting everything right away type of thing, and just all these unrealistic expectations. And 2, it's just showing how the releasing shows all at once with like the binge model has kind of affected how we view
Poison.
TV. Because as much as I enjoy stuff like Stranger Things coming out all at once, it really has shown like the weekly releases, like how it can harm viewing. Because
Because people binge it all at once, and then they talk about it for 6 days and they forget about it.
That's
It's
what
like,
I've been saying.
There was
Yeah.
this TikTok. There was this TikTok that I saw, and it was basically the guy was like, "You guys don't like story, you like PowerPoint presentations."
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah.
That one.
I've
Yep.
seen
Like,
that.
he
Or-
articulated that perfectly. That's exactly what these fans want. They want a PowerPoint presentation. They want to see Hayden in the armor. They want to see Vader killing a bunch of kids, and then they want to see Obi-Wan and Vader fight again, and that's it. Like, then they want it to be over and move on to the next thing. And like, this is an actually great story, and if y'all could just sit back for 6 seconds and savor it, y'all would have so much more fun.
I'm really
That's
wondering if some of
impossible
these
for this
people
fandom to do, Jay.
that like
Let's be real.
complained. I'm like, did you read the Kenobi book? Like, I just have questions.
Right? It's like,
No,
I feel like
you think
they
these
just kinda,
people
like,
read that stuff? No, absolutely
that's
not.
what I'm saying, though. I feel like half these people didn't even watch Revenge of the Sith in its entirety. They just watched like Order 66 and then like Battle of the Heroes, and then they're like, "Wow, that's my favorite
Well,
movie."
remember
It
there was
cool.
that
Yeah.
one thing going around that they were like, "Oh yeah, the Kenobi writers didn't even watch Revenge of the Sith." I'm like, "Wait, no? Like, where did you
Oh
get
my God.
that from?"
I think that's a good time to like segue into talking about Reva. And,
Yes, I was gonna
the
segue
revelation
into Obi-Wan,
about
but
her.
let's segue into Reva. I agree.
Yeah.
because we get so many answers here. The great scene of when Reva and Kenobi talk to each other behind,
Yeah.
in between the doors.
Dude,
I love
I
that
know we've
conversation through the
I
door.
know we've said it so many times throughout the show, but god damn it, Moses Ingram is just phenomenal.
She's so good.
She's so
Like-
So
good.
good. Yeah.
She's
also,
good.
Moses, I know you're not listening, but if you are, on the off chance, come on the show. We'd love to talk to you.
There he goes again.
We have nothing but praise to
He's
offer you,
just
Moses.
Oh my
Our
God,
video.
Connor's just out here
Seriously.
fishing all episode.
He's recruiting this whole episode, which
What we gotta do.
I
Hey,
appreciate.
you never know. It might pay off.
It might. Yeah. We
But,
got
You
Uh,
never
it's
know.
We
Dude,
gotta.
there's that one line that she says, we thought he was there to help us. And like you
Oh,
just hear
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
the
The
hurt.
crack in her voice too as she said that,
Oh,
like,
yeah. It's
oh
hard
my
to say
god,
that
her
for her.
delivery is insane.
Yeah, because
Amazing.
because she builds up to it as well. Like when
oh my
Obi-Wan says
God.
you were a youngling, and she snaps at him enough, and then there's that pause where she's almost like it's a real effort for her to engage with that because of the trauma that it brings her, and
The
then
realization of her journey
yeah,
too, like in that
Mhm.
moment, like I was
yeah,
going back today and I was looking at some of her scenes from the first 4 episodes and I was like, holy shit. Because like there's a couple of these moments where you see her like act what feels like out of character in the moment, but now looking back on it, it's like when Vader snaps that kid's neck. When
Oh
he's
yeah,
like
she
trying
has
to
that like.
get
Mhm.
yeah, and
That's
she's like
right. That's right.
she
She
like
has.
jumps and she almost like looks like she wants to go stop it. It's like because this whole time she's never wanted any part of
Yeah.
that. She just wants to fucking
Kill
kill
Vader.
the
Yeah.
murderer of her friends. Like
The whole
great
time it's like,
twist.
oh, why is she? Why does it seem like she's not fully committed to the dark side? Because she wasn't. And
Yep.
someone
And
pointed
that's
out
the thing.
too in the Discord that I think it might have been Austin too of, all the Inquisitors had red eyes except Riva, and now
Mhm.
there's more of
Yeah.
that because she wasn't fully committed
Because
to
even
the dark
Trilla
side.
had red eyes for certain scenes, didn't she? She didn't have it throughout, but I think she
You'll
had
have
it
to ask.
sometimes.
You'll have to ask Connor because
Yeah,
he's played that.
Connor, the man that played it
Uh,
27 times.
I think so, but I'm pretty. Yeah, it wasn't super apparent. I think I want to say most times, but like in this case, Trilla was just way more evil. So
Yeah.
like, I'm really. That's the thing with Riva is like the way her story was told has been told is just so refreshing because I remember
It's
going
so
into
new.
it. It's so new. That's the other thing. It's so fucking new. Because like I
It's
remember
like I
going
saw
into
Star
it.
Wars dude talking about it too, and how it's like I feel like someone infiltrating the Inquisitors from the very beginning is nothing any of us have even remotely considered.
No.
No,
That's the
and
thing.
it's
Is
like
I think we all kind of assumed that she was one of the younglings at the beginning. Like we've been saying that for
Yeah.
weeks. Is she was
Yeah.
in that first flashback? What I
Yeah.
think we didn't assume was her way of joining the Inquisitors.
is it because like do you mean is it because of like her anger for uh Obi-Wan and Anakin?
Obi-Wan.
Or-
Mm.
Yeah,
See, I
sort
always
of.
saw it like she hated. I thought because like we've known since episode 2, she knew Anakin is Vader, right? I thought she was targeting Obi-Wan because she blamed Obi-Wan for creating Anakin, right? Like, I didn't necessarily think that she was doing it to like get Vader's guard down and distract him so that she could strike him down. That was a twist. Like, I did
Yeah.
not see that coming,
Yeah,
and it was
I gasped
perfect.
when that happened because I was like, "Oh, right!" Like I hadn't even thought of that, and it's really clever as well because it really puts a whole character, like it really brings everything together of what we've been seeing because like
Yeah.
Reva's whole
Right.
thing, because it basically makes Reva this dark mirror for Obi-Wan because both of them lost everything because of Anakin turning to the dark side, and they
Mhm.
both have devoted themselves since then to a singular goal. For Obi-Wan, it was watching over Luke, and for Reva, it was killing Anakin. And over the course of that, they have both drifted very far from what they used to be. Reva's gone from being this, starry-eyed kid who presumably wanted to learn the Force and was probably like a complete innocent person to a person who will lop off other people's hands, kidnap a child, maybe
Yeah.
like torture innocent people. Like, yes, she obviously wants to kill Vader and she doesn't want any
Yeah, she
part of
was
it. But
about a second away from
desire,
torturing a 10-year-old
yes,
Leia.
Yeah.
yes, her desire for vengeance
Like, she is
twisting her.
Like she's definitely not like a light, like someone on the light. Like she has definitely been
Exactly.
corrupted.
She
but
has
she doesn't
she has
see.
fallen to the dark side
She
in
doesn't
a way.
see Vader as like a savior, like the other Inquisitors do, like or
No.
or a cult leader
She's
type of
not
thing.
completely subservient.
Exactly.
Exactly.
She
And that's the thing.
is
She
driven
mirrors
by her
Obi-Wan
revenge.
perfectly in that respect. Yeah, because she's driven by that. Obi-Wan in basically like just like resorting to a passive life has just drifted very far from the protector he used to be. And it's harmed both of them because she is ridden with trauma.
And then she
Like,
asks
even
him
when
that armor-piercing question of like, "Do you really want Anakin dead?"
I
can't
love
Yeah.
how he reflects on it.
He's like,
That's
"Oh,
the
he
thing
can't
that
answer
gets
it.
me.
because we
like,
still like don't know his answer there. Like, does he want?
Right,
Is he
especially
trying to
because in
kill
that
Vader,
moment,
or is he trying to save Vader? We still don't know.
right, when she's talking about Vader and he says, "Do you mean Anakin?" That was like that's huge for his character right there because even he is still is like he knows he's Vader. He knows everything that he's done, and obviously, like now that he knows that like Vader's been alive this whole time, I'm sure he's able to figure out the things that he's been doing for the last 10 years, and he still wants to refer to him as Anakin because he probably still all he can do is see through the mask and see like the kid that he
he
trained.
trained. And like
Like,
that's the other thing too, is that like I think when it came to just talking with Roken or the other other people in public, he referred to him as Vader. But like when it came down to it, with a heart to heart with Reva, it's like no, deep down, I still see him as Anakin Skywalker.
Well,
Mhm.
think about what the first thing was that he said to Vader when they meet. His first line is acknowledging that it's Anakin. He doesn't address him as anyone else. He says, "What have you become?" All he
Yeah.
sees, and that's another thing that I meant to mention about the flashbacks, because the genius in showing Anakin as a Padawan is that we are actually seeing Anakin as Obi-Wan no doubt recalls him. He doesn't see the Clone Wars general. He doesn't see the kind of like dashing, more assured man that led people to victory in the Clone Wars. He sees the young boy that he trained, that looked to him for guidance, that was hungry for victory, and didn't believe in mercy towards his enemies. Like that's who he sees, which makes it all the more heartbreaking.
When we
It's
see
just
the other flashbacks of the horrifying consumed by the dark side Anakin with the blue light over his face
Yeah.
in the Jedi
That's
the
what's
Temple.
cool
duality of-
too, though, is how both
duality of man.
flashbacks are on Coruscant. It's like
Yeah.
Mhm.
then
It's the
you're able
duality
to
of
make so
Anakin.
much more of that connection, right? It's like, oh man, it again the flashbacks, their use of them in the show are perfect. They were just perfect.
Exactly.
And I
And
really bet that like if we do get flashbacks in the finale, they're going to be used in a similar way.
I mean,
Yeah.
I
I mean,
assume
it's the same writing team for the finale, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
Stanton's
Andrew and
writing the
Joby.
finale.
I don't think they'd change it up. And with the way that we've seen both this and say Book of Boba Fett use flashbacks, is they always utilize them in the same thematic way. So I feel like they won't randomly change it up for the finale, especially if they did it so perfectly here. But again, this scene with Reva and Obi-Wan, I could just talk about all day. And then her being like, "Where were you, Obi-Wan? Why didn't you stop this?" And then
That was
I
painful.
saw that tweet. I was like, "Reva, I'm sorry. I was riding a giant lizard."
Saw that too.
I'm like,
I was right. Oh my god.
but
Being shot at by my
yeah,
own men.
because she didn't know that he was also at the same time off somewhere, getting turned on by his clones, like all of them did. He lived the exact same thing that they all did, and I just love
I
how
wonder if
Obi-Wan.
that's something they'll talk about
Yeah.
in the last episode.
I just love how Obi-Wan put all the pieces together in his mind during this scene. And then later, when Obi-Wan surrenders himself to Reva, it's like when he's trying to go through his pitch for the plan again. He's like, "How do you know it's going to work?" And he was like, "Oh, because he'll only see me." And
Yeah.
that was so great.
That sequence is really clever as well, because like it's multiple angles, because Obi-Wan is sort of manipulating her there. He's playing on her desire for revenge against Vader, but he also
Yes.
makes a genuine bid for her to come back to the light. He says, we could end this together, let me help you, which is really great, because he's a strategist. He is the negotiator. We see that develop there. He's the negotiator again, and he's trying to be pragmatic, because yes, he would love to get Reva back to the light, I think, but he also knows that revenge has kind of twisted her mindset now, and that may not be possible. So he also opts for the next best thing, which is focusing her rage and her need for vengeance on Vader again, so that he can get away with Leia. That line when he says, "Yeah, how do you know it's going to work? Because all he'll see is me." It was very clever, and it's a fair enough gambit.
Yeah, definitely.
It
And
really is, because he knows Anakin better than anybody else too, and he knows like that's part of the whole flashbacks too, is that his need for victory is what blinds him, and so in that moment when Obi-Wan reflects on the flashback, he is banking on Anakin's need for victory to overcome his, general understanding of his surroundings, basically, and distract him enough. And I do also think it's funny how he kind of sets Reva up to fail in a way, though, too, because rather than waiting to really distract him long enough, he just leaves with the shuttle.
Yeah,
And so we do see
Yeah.
that even though he was like sort of banking on like Reva not necessarily returning back to the light, but like doing what was probably best for the greater good, he also was like, I need to finish my mission first with Leia. That is the most important thing above
And
all else, more so than
that's
it is
the
defeating
interesting,
Vader.
yeah. Yeah, that's the interesting thing because he's not ready. He's still not ready even now to face Vader. And I feel like
Mhm.
again, this is kind of a prediction, but I think the idea is that he needs assurance from. I feel like what's going to happen in the finale is that it will take the assurance of his old master finally coming through, like
Yes.
Qui-Gon finally coming through and speaking to him, and basically saying what he will later say to Luke. You know, you cannot outrun your destiny. You have to face Darth Vader again, which I could
Mhm.
absolutely see Liam Neeson delivering. But yeah, like,
Yeah.
did
Oh,
anyone
that
else
would be
think that?
so good.
something
But
I'm
yeah,
very curious of what Qui-Gon... Do you think in those flashbacks, or not flashbacks, conversations with Qui-Gon, is he still going to consider Anakin to be the chosen one? Or is he going to
Ooh.
say
That's
he was
what
wrong?
I
A
have been
hard
thinking.
question.
well,
I don't
Because I was just
know.
watching
this is the
the
thing.
Mortis episodes again the other day, and the first thing he asks Obi-Wan is, are you training the boy? He still is the chosen one.
Okay,
And
well, I've actually got a deep cut kind of like thing to like bring here because okay, so have any of you read the From a Certain Point of View book? The
it's
first one.
it's one of my
Some of them. I've read
gaps
some of
now.
the
Oh, but I
shorts.
know what story you're gonna refer to.
The
It's the
Obi-Wan
short,
one, yeah.
so yeah. So the Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon short story by Claudia Gray, which is also called Master and Apprentice. It's all about Qui-Gon visiting Obi-Wan during the events of A New Hope off screen. It's like in a scene that we didn't see in the movie, and we see the whole thing from Qui-Gon's perspective, and we see how while he's up there in the cosmic force, time isn't linear. It's everything. He sees everything all at once. So I feel like he's gonna appear to Obi-Wan and tell him what he knows will reassure Obi-Wan. So it'll be less about like, I still believe Anakin to be the chosen one. It'll be more about reassuring Obi-Wan, I believe, that you know, Anakin did make his own choices. It wasn't just Obi-Wan's failure. Anakin also fell to the dark side because of his own like desires and for more, basically, like
Oh,
he says in
because
Revenge
you
of the
you
Sith.
definitely know part of Obi-Wan thinks that it's his fault that
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Anakin turned, and we'll
Oh,
probably
he
see that in this
absolutely
one.
blames himself.
He
Yeah.
created the instrument of not his own his own destruction 10 years down, 9 years down the line, but like he created the instrument of his own, no, 9 years or 10 years. Fuck.
10 years. Yeah.
9.
10 years. Wait.
Or 10?
Isn't
Are we
this
talking about from Kenobi to A
From
New Hope? Because that's 9
Kenobi
years.
to an yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
never
okay.
mind.
Kenobi
Yeah,
to a
Never
new
that's
mind.
hope.
I
9.
thought we were talking
Okay,
about
yeah.
the show.
Yeah. Now, because he created the instrument of his own future, quote unquote, demise, and it's like, yeah, there's no fucking way that he doesn't beat himself up over this.
Well,
Like,
that
there's no
whole
way.
line of "I am what you made me," Obi-Wan
Yeah.
just kind of takes that because I feel like he's like, "Okay, yep, you're right. I'm gonna run because I can't beat you."
Another
Yeah,
thing
because
I'm
it's like
just
a friend of my. I'll echo what my co-host Jared said last night when we recorded about this episode. Like he found that he saw that there were two levels to it. Like the one was like, yeah, you cut me up, you fucked me up, and this is what I became. But like and this ties back into the line from Luke in Last Jedi. It was a Jedi Master who was responsible for the training and creation of Darth Vader. It's like, on another level, like, you trained me, you created me, and like, this is what you get. Like, this is your fuck up, and you're gonna deal with it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm also like, if we do get next week a sort of Twilight of the Apprentice type of thing that counter pitched last week, where part of Vader's mask gets cut up, like Obi-Wan's reaction to seeing Anakin's like burnt face again is going to be haunting.
Yeah, because he's gonna know
be-
that that's what he actually did.
It's like, I
be
did
I
that.
wonder,
stunned if they don't
It's
do
like,
it.
I
I'll be
wasn't the one
stunned
that
if
turned him to the
doesn't
dark
happen.
side, but I did this, and just having to live with that and see that in his own eyes is going to be haunting. If that's what we
gonna be
do
haunting
get.
if that happens, because like I'm wondering now, because like I feel like that if that does happen, I feel like that'll be a moment where Obi-Wan will sort of let his guard down, and he basically says like, "Come back, Anakin," and Anakin's like,
Yes.
"No, fuck off."
Yeah,
Well,
he
we
will.
still
then-
haven't gotten the payoff of that line of Obi-Wan once
That's what
thought
I
is
mean.
evil.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Obi-Wan.
wonder if that will be that. I wonder if that will be that moment, and then like the moment that, and then the moment that like Anakin is like, "Nah, man, I'm good where I'm at," and it's just like he goes to like kill Obi-Wan. I wonder if that's also the start of him thinking, "Yeah, he's more machine now than man. There's no way I can save him."
Yeah.
It's
Exactly, because
gonna
the
be
line is he once thought as you do. So he could even parallel what Luke says to Vader during their conversation when Luke says, "Then my father is truly dead." He could say that. Then the man I knew is truly dead. Like
We've been
and
seeing a
yeah.
lot of parallels. Like, people
Yeah.
pointed out that, and I don't know how I didn't notice this, but during both the duel in episode 3 of this show and the flashback one, Anakin
it's like Anakin
does-
just starts the battering thing where he
like
just
that Luke does in Return of the
Yes.
Jedi.
yeah.
yeah, that
Yeah.
was cool.
There's a lot of parallels to other fights in that flashback fight. Like you have like some of the Revenge of the Sith choreographies
Oh,
in
the
there.
back to back.
Yeah.
The
I
back
saw
to back.
that.
They also had when they're going down that corridor and they have a couple of those upward swings that like slash through those tighter walls. That
Yeah.
quick string of movements was also in there. I think there was another one too that I'm forgetting.
It's like Chloe was saying just earlier about like all the edits people did with like on TikTok and like Twitter and stuff, like the
Yeah.
way the way it cut back and forth, like watching those edits, it was like, oh wow, they really did their homework and they really like found a way to allude to all of this stuff in this during this like little sparring session, whilst like making it feel organic, which was just really cool.
Also-
And it was just awesome to see like prequel trilogy lightsaber choreography again. I've missed it.
It's wonderful.
It was
It's
great to
awesome.
see like a Jedi sparring session, honestly.
I was just
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
say, have we seen Obi-Wan and Anakin spar in canon like that?
I don't think we saw it in Clone Wars
no, I
or
don't
anything like that.
think so.
No, I
No.
don't think so.
Yeah, I think that's
Um,
the first time. So that's another great like mirror to like Battle of the Heroes. Is it's like we know that this isn't the first time they fought, but it's the first time that their fighting mattered. Like, so this show just even like is supplementary to like, Revenge of the Sith. It's like it's insane.
Well, yeah, people have like kind of called this series like Revenge of the Sith 1.5, and
Yeah.
in a
This
way
is
we
episode 3.5.
Yeah,
This
in a way
is
we are
truly
seeing-
episode 3.5. Like this will be
really
included
is.
in my saga rewatches from now on.
Oh, it's gonna
Yeah.
have to be.
100%.
Absolutely.
I'm like showing my sibling the movies for the first time soon, and I'm like debating how I'm gonna show them everything. It's like, do I include the shows and everything? But I gotta include Kenobi in there because it's gonna add so much, not only with Revenge of the Sith, but as we've said, watching A New Hope when the show is done is going to be so different in so
Yeah.
many ways.
It's adding
This show feels
to the
just
movie like
as
Rogue One did.
important. Right, it feels just as important as like Clone Wars, Rogue One, Rebels do to like the overall saga.
Yep.
I do have one question for you guys though, because I've seen this brought up a lot with how this narrative has gone. Do you think, because this was supposed to be a movie originally before they changed it into a show, do you think this story would have been better as a movie, or do you think how we're getting it in TV was the right call Because honestly,
it was the right call on TV because
I
from what I
agree.
can
Because I've seen a
remember,
lot of
I
people
agree.
say movie.
it was just gonna be like 2 hours or so of just Obi-Wan being sad on a desert, and it was
'Cause-
gonna be very Mandalorian.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't. 'Cause
we've
when
already
they were
hit
like
4 hours worth of screen time for this show, and
when
we
they,
still have another. I believe the last episode is speculated to be 63 minutes, based off
That's
of like
not
that
a.
leak.
That's a. That's bullshit.
Well, no. So
No,
the
no, no, no.
original
Like,
one was
well,
an
no, no,
hour and 33 minutes, but
no, no.
that
I
includes
know.
the 30-minute Q&A.
Yeah. So like, I it better be an hour.
yeah,
Better be
no,
a fucking hour.
if it's 40 minutes, I'm gonna be a little upset. But I will agree with you though, because when they were like, oh, it was gonna be a movie, it wasn't gonna be this story that we would get in a movie.
Yeah, because back
true.
then Vader wasn't involved.
And if this was like, if
That
they
is
cut this
also
up
true.
into a 2.5 hour movie, I just feel like the stuff with Leia wouldn't be getting its dues. Reva wouldn't get that much development. I just feel the way that they've got it now was great. Now, whether or not you want to say, oh, this should have, or this would have benefited with releasing it all at once, that's a different conversation. I also disagree with that. But I want to segue also into, before we talk about Obi-Wan's journey, because I think that this last episode and this episode to me are the ultimate culmination of Obi-Wan finding himself once again. And in this episode, he really becomes General Kenobi of the Clone Wars once more, with defending all the people of the Path. But let's talk about the Path for a second. We got to talk about Tala and how it killed me.
Oh no, I was
Because
so
we
sad.
talked last week. Chloe, well, you weren't here for this one, but you had your thoughts. But we talked last week how they've done such a good job of making us care about the characters and the people involved in the Path, and getting to see
Absolutely.
them
I agree.
become soldiers, as we see in this episode. And the stakes of not knowing if they're gonna make it out alive from this Imperial siege. And one, I just want to say before we get into Tala, well, actually two things. One, I just love Roken as a character. I just think he's so cool.
He's
and
great.
two, I am so glad we got Haja back. When he showed up,
Yes.
I started
Yeah.
screaming. I was like, yes, he's back. I was so excited. And
Oh my
I
god,
love
he
that
was
he's-
so funny in this episode too.
I know. I love that he's joining the fight, though. It's like, oh yeah, I got into a scuffle with the Inquisitor, and now I have nowhere else to go. And even though he's not like the greatest person, he's still like helping everyone out, which I really love. And I love his dynamic with Leia in this episode. I thought was
I
adorable.
like that they're like showing people that aren't like hero archetypes like the
Yes.
whole time, and I like that they're showing that those people help out too, and those people are integral to all these rebellion like things that are going on, because I feel like a lot of times we always just see the stereotypical hero archetype and then there's not really a lot more conversation about it.
Yeah, exactly. It shows the
Also,
bunch of
Right,
differences
and without
that the
this
rebellion
group,
is a part of.
Obi-Wan wouldn't have been able to do anything that he's done in this series. Like
Mhm.
without Tala
Exactly.
or Roken or Sully or Haja, without any of them, or Wade, even though we only saw him for a couple seconds. Rest in peace, homie. Obi-Wan, he probably would have died in like the third episode if it wasn't for any of these
And
people.
his mindset
Yeah.
completely wouldn't have been the same at all. Like in the first episode, we literally saw him ignore a Jedi pleading for help, and he ended up getting hung in the middle of Mos Espa.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
it would have been completely different. And I am so glad that we have these Path characters, and it's been so great seeing them again. I want to go through and just see if that like bin of sabers that Obi-Wan comes up, like if any of those are recognizable. Because
Oh, I studied that frame for like 20 minutes yesterday. I didn't recognize any of them, but
Yeah, I was hoping I would recognize at least one of them. Did you have any
I
luck,
was
Chloe?
hoping that I wouldn't.
that is true.
that too,
is true.
not enough pain. We just,
Also,
Yeah,
I
there was
gotta
also the
say-
writing on the wall as well. Oh, and
Yeah.
and I almost forgot. Corin Horn is actually there in the episode. There's like a frame of like Leia interacting with him, which is just really amusing because it's definitely meant to be Corin Horn from like the Legends X-Wing novels by Michael Stackpole, which I haven't read, but I heard a lot about.
That's before my time.
Which is just really
Also-
cool. I like that they've done a little shout out to Legends because it's a really good kind of reference where it doesn't its own. If you're if you know of those books and like that whole thing, it will do something for you. But if you don't, then it won't take you out of the story. It
Yeah,
won't wreck it
it's
for
not
you.
like
Exactly.
we would see like Vader in this episode be like, all right, I want you to meet my new Inquisitor, Mara Jade, who
Yeah.
looks directly at the camera. Like
Yeah.
it's
Does that do anything
those
for
like
you?
subtle
We've
ones.
said it. They've nailed fan service in this show. Like this is like the new gold standard of how to do fan service in these kind of franchises. I feel like is the Kenobi show.
I mean,
Yep.
I'm surprised that Jabim is only a reference in this because I'm surprised that no one ever brings it up in the show that Obi-Wan fought there during the Clone Wars, but then maybe that's like, they're just recanonizing Jabim because they want to use it for other stuff. Like maybe it could show up in the
Mhm.
Bad Batch. Like, because I mean, that you could even, we've been talking about the path. We could see the genesis of the path in the Bad Batch because that's literally like just after Revenge of the Sith. So it would be cool to see how these
Well, if they
people
really
started
are
it.
going for that like hardcore connection with everything, I would be shocked if
Yeah.
we don't see some kind of world building connection to Kenobi in Bad
Well,
Batch or Andor.
that's where I think Quinlan's showing up is
Yeah, same.
Bad Batch, whether it's
Yeah,
this season or the next. I think that's what
Also,
we're gonna get.
I
especially
would
with
love
Gunji,
Tala
seeing
to have
Gunji
an
in the
appearance.
trailer. Oh,
Yeah.
Tala,
Oh,
it would be
yeah.
I would
awesome.
love Tala to make a guest appearance. I mean, it's the only option now because, like, R.I.P. Tala.
Dude,
We're
I
not
gotta,
No.
I gotta say this. Like, this is what I was referring to, Andrew.
Yeah, here you go.
The only reason I think they killed her off, because let's be real, Tala, Leia, and Hera in the same room, the war would be over.
Yeah.
Palpatine
Yeah.
dead. Exegol non-existent. Empire, what empire? Just, it would be over. It would be over. All three of them together,
Too
Empire would
powerful.
stand no chance. Too powerful.
I
I'm not
just
gonna lie. When I first watched the
Also, we get a
episode,
Gorel mention.
it did mess
Yeah.
with my viewership because I was so I was disappointed that they killed her off.
Yeah.
And it took another like
Yeah.
couple of rewatches
I
to
saw
kind of make my peace with it.
Tala's death. I was like, what's Jake gonna think here? Like that's my first thought now in everything is what is Jake
Well,
think?
it's just like the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, here we are, killing of another powerful female character to make you feel bad. But, like, this doesn't feel like a Val to me. Like,
Yeah.
there was no reason to kill Val, right? Tala, like,
There was build up for her character. Val only
there
had,
was
what, like,
build up. It
15
was
minutes?
Yeah,
a payoff.
Did anyone else
And-
get like nervous when she started talking about like the notches on her belt? Did anyone? Because my first feeling was, oh, she's not making it out of this, is she?
Well,
Which
I
is
was
like-
going to point out how much I loved that conversation because if I remember correctly, that was right after Obi-Wan saw the comlink from Bail, and then
Yeah.
Tala shows up, which
Yeah.
again that gets brought back around later, which is another thing I love about this episode is that every scene
God damn
matters.
it, Haja. God damn it.
God damn it.
It's like,
But-
I love the dude, but he keeps messing up. He keeps leading Reva
My
to
God.
shit. I mean, it wasn't his
He's
fault.
he's like the Jar Jar of this show.
Yeah, hey, Jake, I will not tolerate Jar Jar slander on this podcast.
It's
I'm
not
just
Jar Jar slander.
forewarning
I
you.
love Jar Jar.
Yeah, we got
I love
Bombad
Jar Jar
Jedi
and I
next
love
week
Haja.
on the Clone
Yep.
Wars podcast.
Hell
Awesome.
yeah.
But
It's been a long time since I've seen that one.
I have not seen that one since 2015. So
Also, I need to say, last thing on the path, Christina Ariel shows up again in the background.
so many people showed up in the background
So
of
many
this one.
people.
Hashtag Christina lives.
Loads of people.
Hashtag Christina does live. She definitely deserves it. Deserved
Yeah.
being
I
in the
was
show.
My new
shocked.
favorite glub shitto.
I was
she's
shocked how many
phenomenal.
like people on Star Wars Twitter like had an extra role in this episode.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Rexing around was
Rexing
there.
Around was there. There were a couple others that are just escaping my memory right now, but it just seemed. I don't know how they kept it quiet this whole
Well,
time. That like this
sometimes-
massive
Yeah, that is a-
group of Star Wars
Some
people.
things are just based on luck.
But that's just cool that they would
Yeah.
go to these people and be like, "Hey, do you wanna film an extra role in Kenobi?" Like, I just think that's really awesome that they're incorporating people in the community, both like associated with Lucasfilm and just people that are fans, like into the projects. I think that's really cool, and it's not like in a weird way. Like it's just really nice to see because now they can say that they're officially like in Star Wars canon. Like that's really awesome. But then we got Tala's sacrifice scene, and the minute she got shot, I was like, oh no. I was like, they're doing this. Obi-Wan's scream got me
Oh
like
my
really
god,
bad.
same.
Oh,
Yeah.
that hurt.
That hurt, and the no hurt too. But
Yeah.
then they make it worse because they K2SO'd us again because they
I
took
know.
out
Ned
NB2.
B.
Why? That's the one.
Can we also talk about though how after she gets shot, they started to use more shaky cam and they like kept it a little bit out of focus for certain shots, and it
Yeah.
slowly built its focus back up as she went to go detonate the thermal detonator, and it like to me it felt like that was in Tala's perspective, was like she had been dazed by being shot and then it finally went back into focus when she realized what she had to do for the others
Yeah.
to survive. And I just thought that was such like a brilliant like little bit of filmmaking there to really like give you that extra emphasis like of character. And
Yeah.
like again, I know
And
that
then
we've
just
talked
seeing
about production
Kenobi
value
go
and how like
crazy, like
right.
taking out these stormtroopers to try to save her. It
I know,
was
and
so
just
good.
It was
kneel in
awesome
front of
seeing
her.
him like really
It's gut wrenching.
Dude,
go in his
the fact that
emotions like that.
Obi-Wan took down a purge trooper. Like, if you told me like 4 years ago, no, yeah, 3 years ago, like after the release of Fallen Order, like, oh yeah, Obi-Wan's gonna take down a purge trooper in his own show. I'd be like, what the fuck?
Well, that's like
Speaking
what we
of
said
purge
last week. It's like
troopers,
Obi-Wan's gonna
Walmart.
be on Fortress Inquisitorius in his own show.
Yeah,
You'd
exactly.
be like,
Speaking
"You're
of
lying."
purge troopers, I need Walmart to get their shit together. They were supposed to drop 4.5 hours ago, and they're
Ooh.
still not out yet. Walmart, let me get my small plastic purge troopers. I have an addiction. I need them.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I brought up Tala, and then earlier, like 20 minutes ago, I did in fact just order the new Black Series. So I also have a
Same.
crippling addiction. But this
That's
scene
one way of
got me.
paying your respects.
And Ned
Yeah.
B just shielding her from the blaster fire. I was like, oh no.
Those sad noises he was making too.
Yeah,
I
Uh,
know.
I love the fact that this got you so much because this is a character that has had 0 lines of dialogue, like at all.
Yeah,
You
they
barely
paid it off.
even,
The
like,
actions.
Made any
They
sounds.
paid off the action. Yeah, they paid off the line. Actions speak louder than words. And like I have to
Also-
say, Indira Varma's acting during
dude,
that
She's
scene,
Indira-
so
Amazing.
good.
Phenomenal.
the look on her face when she turns back around to like look at Obi-Wan just one more time before she sets off the thermal detonator,
The May the Force be with you.
it broke me.
Oh,
It was so
also-
good.
And
I mean,
the shot
as-
of Kenobi as the doors close, like his face, just so
Yeah.
good.
Oh,
This
yeah.
this
No, that
shit-
was.
this episode, man, is so
yeah,
good.
and the music was so sad as well. Like I saw someone post on the SWE Discord that that was the point where they knew it was a Natalie Holt track. 'Cause
Yes.
it really, that is so true because I really
When those
felt,
violins kicked in,
yes,
that was
absolutely.
so Natalie Holt.
I got like a blast of like the Loki soundtrack in a really good way because it was
She
so
really has been
sad,
building
so
on this
perfect.
score the last couple episodes. I know that was sort of a topic of discussion. It's like, all right, well, the score has been a little lackluster. It's felt, supplementary rather than like elevating the show. And I feel like last episode and this episode especially, like she's really just got all out with these tracks, and they've
Yeah.
absolutely elevated every single one of these scenes.
which means we're not ready for next episode.
No,
Oh my goodness.
definitely
We're
not.
Like, I
She-
really like. I love all the new music. I really hope they're keeping all the some of the most prominent prequel themes in the bag for the
Oh,
finale.
if we don't
if
hear,
we-
I'll be shocked if we don't hear
They
Battle of the
did use
Heroes.
them in the trailer, but also they used a lot of prequel music in the Rise of Skywalker trailers, and then we just got none of that.
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
So
we got
they
Return to Tatooine.
Um,
that,
but also,
that's it.
yeah, but also I want
Oh,
to
they
say,
did use the Kaminoan theme when Poe and Zori are talking on the rooftop too, which is super random.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to.
I also got to say this before we move on. the shot of Nedby tossing the stormtrooper and then the shot of Nedby with the E11, those are the last two shots in either trailer
Yep.
that we have. So
Yup.
we have exactly no footage whatsoever.
Are we gonna make
Finale.
predictions of what happens? Nope. No, we are not.
Nope.
No.
Absolutely not. But spiraling back to Kenobi, like right after this scene, we get another flashback and we just see Obi-Wan absolutely broken, like we've lost, like it's over. And there's more of that. But again, last week we got the new Jedi look for Obi-Wan, which is immaculate. And then this week we got more added to it with the robe, which Ewan, again, all these outfits, like, it's beautiful. It's just, I'm in love with this look. It's so great. And then we see Obi-Wan give Haja his saber, and then we get the Reva scene we talked
And the
about earlier.
communicator.
And the communicator, yeah, which you didn't do a great job with that one.
No, I definitely found it interesting for some reason that, like, in Bale's message, he was like, yeah, I'm gonna go to Tatooine to help the boy if this goes sideways. I don't know why. I just never would have considered that an option.
I did not think he was going to say that ever.
No,
Yeah.
me neither.
Yeah.
Like at first, and like the way it started at first, it was like I didn't think it was like a hollow voicemail. I thought it was just like he's actually gonna go talk to Bale and be like, all right, what's the status update?
Because, like, people talk about, do the Lars family know about Leia? Or do they just know about
I
Luke?
doubt it.
I don't think
I don't
so.
think so.
I think they're really operating. I think Bale and Obi-Wan and Yoda were really operating under the less they know, the better thing when it comes to
Yep.
the Larses. Like, oh, just here's a baby, you know, look after it. You know, we're not telling you anything else.
Right.
I
I
mean,
mean,
I'm just
it would-
excited to see
Yeah.
Owen and Beru again, because they were just in the first episode, and they made it seem like
Right,
they
and
were
it
gonna
does
be, like,
make
main
sense now
characters.
because they marketed both of them as like,
Yeah.
oh, they're back, and it's like we saw Baru in like a wide shot, and we
Yeah.
saw Owen in that one scene, in Mos Eisley, and like
he
that was
trained his
it.
father. I still can't get over it.
Yeah, like you trained his father, and then
Cutthroat.
he fucking stands up to Reva.
Yeah, Jedi are vermin. I kill vermin on my farm. Ooh, I just had a flash of what could happen.
Do you think, like, when Reva saw that, we'll talk about that later, but do you think when Reva saw the thing about the communicator at the end, do you think she was like, that motherfucker was lying to me this whole time?
Oh God, I didn't even think about that.
Nah, she probably was. She was like, God damn it. It's like, you motherfucker. That's the thing. I said this before. I said this on the pre-show, and I've said it, like, probably before. Like, we know the fates of 98% of these characters, and I'm still nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause
I
the-
still feel nervous for Luke.
Like, we know he's gonna be fine. We know that Reva
But
can't
still.
kill him or capture him.
But I'm
More
Or,
so,
like,
I'm nervous
keep
for
him-
Reva. Like
Keep him
it's like
prisoner.
well, Reva's
I don't
one of the
think
ones
he's
we
gonna
don't
do
know the
thing.
fate of. So
right,
I
it's
would
like
be-
the Ahsoka thing that we keep talking about on the Made Show. It's like the whole time we were watching the Clone Wars as kids, we did not fucking know if Ahsoka was gonna die, especially because every single season finale they're like, "Oh, is Ahsoka gonna die?" And I'm like, 10-year-old me is like, "I can't do this again, guys."
Oh my god! I
Thank
just made a
God.
TikTok about that. Like,
yeah, I know. I was
yesterday,
gonna bring up Chloe. Like, didn't you just make a video the other day about how you thought that the wrong Jedi was the last time you were ever gonna see Ahsoka?
Yeah, I did. I made it a day ago. Apparently, I don't
At a
remember
certain
when it
point.
was, but yeah, I did.
Oh,
Oh
That's
my
just-
god! And I get that same feeling with Reva. Is it's like I always kind of just felt comfortable knowing she would at least make it to the finale, but now that we're like going into the week of the finale, I'm like, don't fucking kill her!
I
Don't fucking
didn't-
kill her!
I
Don't
didn't-
fucking kill her!
Especially with what's
I
happening
really
now.
hope-
I didn't
I
think
really-
that before the last minute of the episode. But yeah.
like, dude, okay, so, like, can we just talk? Okay, so, like, we just gotta talk about Vader just being a fucking Chad. So, like,
Oh my
first,
Oh my god!
pulls the transport down, which is a Rey reference, Ahsoka reference,
Also
Star
Leaf
Killer
Star
reference,
Star
Killer.
Killer, yeah.
Yeah.
and Avar Chris reference all in one.
Avar.
Can we talk about how terrifying that was?
I
That
was,
was
that is
I was like, oh
so
no, because
scary
I
in
didn't
this
notice
show.
the second
The
transport
fact-
the first.
The
I was
fact
like,
that he got
I didn't either. I thought
faked
they were
out
done.
is just beautiful because it's like, of course Anakin would get faked out by that.
Yeah,
Of
'cause he
course
had-
he
Yup.
would.
which
Yeah,
is
he was
is
blinded
from
by his
Obi-Wan.
need for victory.
Exactly. It just
It
and
blinds
it,
him.
it
And then, like,
dovetails
the duel.
exactly. Yeah, it dovetails exactly with the duel
flashback.
because Anakin seems to win, and then Obi-Wan tricks him and disarms him, and that's exactly what happens there.
Oh no, I'm not talking
Anakin
about
thinks-
that.
It's over with the
Yeah.
smile.
I'm
the
talking
Anakin
about
smile.
I'm talking about like the duel, like
Yeah.
Reva versus Vader, and
Oh.
Vader
Oh
just
my
gives him a
god, that is the
sweat.
greatest freaking fight I have ever seen in Star Wars. I swear to God, that was insane.
Really quick to talk about Leia. There was one
I was
line
worried.
that
I was worried that
the-
Lola was gonna. That Leia was gonna
Do
have
some
to
trick
kill him.
ass shit.
No, I was just worried that Lola was gonna get destroyed. I was like, I can't deal with 2 droid deaths in one episode. I just can't do it.
yeah,
But
like the line, the delivery of would you stop talking? Just the way Vivian delivered it, and like I knew this was Leia
She's
all
so
along.
good.
I
Like,
can tell
the-
that Deborah
the way
Chow
she-
coached her through that.
I
and
just
like,
love
like,
the. All right, I need a ladder, and they're like, no.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Obi-Wan was like, I trust her.
that was so
You
Leia.
trust
That
me?
was
I trust
so
her.
Leia. To like that she immediately volunteers herself to help. She doesn't say, "Oh, I can help." She's just like, "I'm gonna need a ladder." She's like, "No, I'm gonna help. I'm going to do this."
And then
It's so
afterwards, when
very
she
Leia.
comes back and like Obi-Wan's like talking to her, I'm like, this relationship is everything to me.
Yeah, it's like
between
when she
Leia and
hugged him,
Obi-Wan.
I was like, I got my heart warmed a little bit. It was like it was very sweet.
It hasn't quite hit me yet because I think I'm so focused on like Obi-Wan and Vader that like a rewatch is definitely gonna be like, oh, this is fantastic.
Oh, next
but, like,
week, if I don't have work on a Wednesday, I'm sitting down and I'm watching the entire series in its entirety as soon as I finish episode 6.
I'm just waiting to see if they.
I mean,
do
hey,
have
I don't got
the-
work either next week.
I'm gonna
watch
look
along?
right now. If I have to work, I'm gonna be super upset.
But, like,
I'm just
just
waiting
the
to see if they
way-
announce that they're doing like the theatrical release anywhere near me, because if
I
they
hope
do,
so.
I'm going. But it sounds like it's just a Canadian thing. So
Oh my god, I am working on Wednesday.
Oh,
tragic.
that's tragic. That's very tragic. But like, just last thing about Leia, just the delivery of "Would you stop talking?" Immediately, my brain went, "Yep,
Carrie.
that's Leia, all right."
Yeah.
Yeah. But also, just okay, Reva and Vader.
Let's talk about
I don't
it.
even know what to say.
Let's talk
Like-
about
That
it.
I have so
blew
much to
my
say.
mind.
Yeah,
I just
like
love
did
the,
anyone-
the framing of it. Like Vader's just looking at the ship, and then I was like, Reva's got to be behind him, isn't she?
yeah, did anyone
And then they
did anyone
pan
else
to
like,
it.
just go like, no, don't do it, don't do it.
Yeah.
And then she ignited the blade, and he just stops it and slowly turns around.
I
That's
was
like
worried this
horror
whole time.
movie vibes.
Like I didn't know where it was gonna go. I thought there was a chance that Vader would have just immediately just turned around and just bisected her right there. Like I just didn't know where this was gonna go. But the fact that like
Nah,
the
Vader
first
likes a good fight.
minute of this is just him toying with her
Using
with
the force the whole time.
Not
Oh
even.
my god.
I
He
don't even
never
think-
once ignites his own saber.
Yeah, it's
exactly.
just Reva's.
And that's
That's what
another
Bob- that's
genius
what-
thing. Like that he actually has
Oh,
learned.
God.
The messed up thing is that in that with the flashbacks, he has actually learned from Obi-Wan in that respect, because he does take what Obi-Wan taught him in that lesson, in that moment, the misdirection, and uses it against
Yeah.
Reva, which is like super messed up, because like, you know, she already said to Obi-Wan, where were you? Why didn't you save us? And not only does Obi-Wan like leave her again, abandon her again to fight Vader, it's his training, it's his lessons that he instills to Anakin that Anakin uses to get the better of her. And not just that, but to toy with her, like you said, just like dodge out of the
Yes.
way, use the force to like push her away, and then even just use her own weapon against her. Like
Didn't he
When
use
he like
some of
flips
the-
her with the force, that's like the most
Yeah.
disrespectful thing I've ever seen in Star
It
Wars.
really was.
I might be wrong, but didn't he use some of the moves that Obi-Wan used against him in the fight with Reva? Or am
I think he did.
Mhm.
think
Yeah,
so,
he
yeah.
did. Because they showed those flashbacks right before they showed him using those.
Mhm.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah, because every
Again, the
flashback kind of
was
informs the
crazy.
next scene. Yeah,
But this duel
perfectly.
was great, and I just love how she starts with the single blade, then she goes to the double blade, then she goes to the spinning blade, and
And
nothing
then
could
Vader
work.
stops it.
Nothing works.
Absolutely not.
The way that
Vader's
he's just able to
stopping the
stop
spinning
the
blade with the
spinning blade.
force.
Yes,
Oh
that
my
was
I was-
god.
insane.
I very audibly, like, I watched it with my family, and I very audibly went, "Oh shit!" when that happened, because
I
that
was
was like,
just wrapped up into it that I was like,
that's their main form of
is
terror.
this real?
Right, the
Like-
horror on Moses's face as like Vader stops the spinning blade, she realizes like, oh fuck, and then the way he just snaps the blades apart and tosses her one, like, you want to fight? Let's fight. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my
Yeah.
god.
So obviously that's like the can I have to praise the physicality from not just Hayden in the Vader suit, but the body doubles who doubled
Yes.
for him in the full body shots. The physicality was so good because they not only got Hayden's movements, they got the Vader movements, the David Prowse movements from the original trilogy. And like we've been saying earlier, this is like a really good combination of Anakin and Vader because it's both very intimidating and also it's so Anakin. Like he's such a dramatic SOB. He loves to he loves
Right.
to flair, he loves to show off, and here he is again throwing half of Reva's saber to her, saying, "All right, then come on, you want to take your shot? Here we go."
Yeah, we really
that's
have
the
those
thing.
moments in like the Vader 2017 comic run by Charles Soule, and then Lords of the Sith, who I suck. I'm forgetting who wrote that book all of a sudden.
Kemp,
Matthew
Paul
Kemp.
The
Yeah,
writers. I'd love to know
yeah.
if the writers and Deborah Chow drew from that run because it really feels like they did, especially with like a dream sequence that happens in the third volume.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really feels like they drew from that run, which is
But it's so
would be
cool how
really
like
cool.
we've had those moments in the literature, right, that have really blended Anakin and Vader together. But this is the first time that like the general audience is really being able to see that on display, I feel like, because like let's be real, we're all Star Wars hardos here. Like I'm assuming most people that listen to this are also Star Wars hardos. So like for us that just feels normal. But for people that only watch the movies and like then like The Mandalorian and Boba and now this, like right, it's the first time they're getting to see that, and I think that is so sick because
Yeah.
it is like legitimately they are for the first time ever on screen in like live action blending those characters and like making them one, and I think that is so cool.
Yeah, because like
Really
even
cool.
for me, like as someone that I've been watching Star Wars since I was 4 years old, even for me there are points
Same.
where I have trouble separating, or I have to separate Anakin and Vader as two separate characters because I just don't see them as the same person. This show has done such a great job at making them feel like the same person, merging those two characters into one, which I really appreciate. But back to this duel, someone pointed out, I think it was another conversation I was having, do you think when Vader had both sabers, do you think he was thinking of a certain Snips?
Yes.
Yes, I saw that. I saw the Ahsoka parallel,
I
and I
was
was
like,
like,
oh,
yeah,
that's why he
Even-
couldn't
that's
do
totally
it. That's why he
intentional.
I
couldn't dual
almost
wield.
feel like whoever was in the suit held a slightly different pose as he dual weld the sabers, and it almost felt more like Ahsoka's posture in a way to me. Maybe that was just my mind tricking me, like wanting to find the parallel there. But that was so cool.
I feel like it was a subtle reference. You actually mentioned earlier as well, Jake, Moses's the look on Moses's face when he slows down the lightsaber blade. And I just want to mention her acting throughout the whole duel because it typifies what I was saying about Moses's like whole take on Reva like a couple of episodes ago. Because the whole thing about Reva is Reva projects this huge front of anger all the time. Like when she first attacks Vader and he stops her, she like screams in rage at him. She's projecting this front of anger, but deep down, she is still the scared little girl that
Right,
was like
she gets like
left for dead.
smaller as the fight
Yeah.
goes on until
And
we
then-
eventually
Straight
get
up,
that
okay.
parallel.
Culminating
And then
with
by
the
the
line
end-
of where we leave you right where we found you.
Yeah. And then we
Like,
get
I'm
by
not
the end
gonna-
of the duel, she's on her knees. She's literally reduced to the height of a child again. And
Yep,
the
she's that kid
editing-
again.
Dude,
The
that
editing
scene-
between Anakin and Vader,
Oh my
like
God.
stabbing her like two
Dude,
different times,
okay.
it's insane and so dark and messed up.
Oh. Dude, okay, so like there's like a certain 2-second shot, I think, of like it's just a close up of Moses's face before like Vader's about to impale her again, and it's just the way she looks just so small and just like a kid, and just phenomenal acting from Moses Ingram there.
And it
Like
just
she
shows-
just really channeled like her younger, quote unquote, younger self in that moment in the temple. Like again, like this was just that trauma
Yeah, it
unearthing.
really, to me, feel like that she's never been able to get past that moment, which obviously we know that she hasn't
Yeah,
because she's
yeah.
had this single goal ever since then. But like that right there is what really like visualized that and like just made you realize it's like she really is no different than that scared kid that she was on the night of Order 66.
Exactly. Like we should give props to the child actress as well, who played young Reva for so convincingly conveying that look of like shock and terror.
Right, because
of
those
seeing
two
Anakin.
performances mirror each other so perfectly.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
Also,
that is still Reva there.
do we know if I can't remember? Did Moses do her own stunts or?
It feels like she did.
You're
Like it
asking the
look a
wrong
lot of the
person.
shots because she doesn't have a helmet, so a lot of the shots look like it's her with the lightsaber. I mean, when she was first announced, like she uploaded a video of her like practicing her saber skills. So she went through a lot of training. So I feel like she did most of her stunts. But yeah, like that was the whole fight was just really well done, and I love how they've been building the choreography throughout the show. Like we had that more kind of like Empire Strikes Back kind of duel in part 3. We had the saber sparring here, and then we have this like really intense duel between an Inquisitor and Vader, which is just super cool. We've never seen that. We've never seen like an Inquisitor really stand up to Vader. And I saw someone else tweet something like, "Oh, that the messed up thing is he probably trained all of them in a way so that they would never be able to beat him."
Yeah,
Which
that's the
is-
thing that about the Inquisitors.
That is such a
is
Vader thing.
They are not
Yeah.
like necessarily the strongest Force users. They're just the ones that were able to be corrupted by the dark side. So they
Exactly.
really have
Right.
no match
They're nothing.
against
They're
Vader.
hardly anything more than stormtroopers to like Vader or Palpatine. They're just foot soldiers that can go and take on Jedi.
And just
Speaking of other Inquisitors.
manipulation. He's back.
Bro,
Oh my
I'm-
god!
I never doubted you for a second, Deborah. Like, but again, no, like this was incredibly obvious to me. So, but the way
They
that they
weren't gonna
revealed
retcon
it,
Rebels.
the
Did
way
anyone
that
else
he
feel the
says
collective-
Grand
Also-
Inquisitor, and then he
I
pops in this. Oh my god, it was so great.
I just need to talk about like the fact that he goes, "Hello, third sister," and it's just like the thing that I love about the Inquisitorius so
They're
much
so petty.
is that they're
They're
so,
so
petty.
petty.
They're so like, sure, they're like, for all their stuff about being formidable and aggressive, lethal Jedi hunters who instill fear into them. They're so fucking petty.
They're
They
like
just-
a
they're high
pissy family
schoolers.
of a bunch of kids that hate each other.
Like they're a high school cafeteria.
They're a whole band of Kylo Rens.
Yeah,
That's what they
Chloe,
are.
you
Yeah.
weren't here for our discussion of how petty the fifth brother is towards towards Reva, and it's just on full display here with.
You
Grand
know that
Inquisitor
fifth
and
brother
my
was
turn.
watching the hollow of this go down, and he was just laughing his ass off.
That's my one complaint with this episode is that he wasn't there.
Yeah. It's like,
maybe Lord
I
Vader
have
will
to say,
finally
though-
let me go on the Xbox.
He needs to use the Xbox.
It's my turn, damn it.
I have to say though, can we just talk about how like Vader, right? Like he's been a cool villain to like Obi-Wan, like in just a sense, like we know it's Anakin. We know that he's like Obi-Wan's greatest failure, and he's scary. He was snapping people's necks and all that. But simultaneously, I kind of felt like he wasn't a great villain in the same sense because like he wasn't really doing a great job of hunting Obi-Wan, and I feel like the Inquisitors were kind of like getting out of control. And then this episode brought it all together and just proved that like he's been the best fucking villain this entire time, and he let Reva think that she was, doing something here, and then he's just like, "Psych, I got you." And
Yeah.
that,
Well, 'cause
that was
he's
fucking
known.
awesome.
He saw into her mind in the first time
the
they met. Like
whole
the
time.
first thing he says to her in episode 3 is, I've been watching you, third sister. I know what it is you seek. You know, we all thought at the time, oh right, he thinks he can see she wants a promotion. No, he could see that she wanted to kill him. He's known that for ages, and he knows that because she is so like him. Because right now, yeah, he's been wanting to kill Palpatine for ages because he's a Sith. So of course he's gonna see Reva wanting to kill him and be like, "Oh yes, I recognize this." And also, just to lighten the proceedings for a minute, I love that the Inquisitor plaque is basically like a gold star, like the Grand Inquisitor plaque. He's like, "You have done well, third sister. Here, have a gold star." And then
And then he just so pettily takes it off of her armor at the end.
I'll just take this back.
Yeah, but like the way that, to me, it made it seem like Vader has been planning this since he saw the scared youngling in the temple.
Oh, that line was so. Did anyone else just feel so heartbroken when he said that? Did you chilled when he said, "Did you really think I did not see it, youngling?" Oh,
Yeah.
The way
it's
this
such a
show
blow to
and-
Reva as well, because Reva's been this character. Reva has been a character who really felt like she was a step ahead of everyone, and we, the audience, have seemed. That's how it seemed to us. Like she's a step ahead of everyone. She's constantly thinking more practically than everyone else, and then it turns out no, her rage was simply a tool. The Empire used her like it uses everyone else, and then the moment that she was no longer useful, it cast her aside. Vader casts her aside, and it's all just so very, very sad and horrible.
How ironic that Darth Vader, the King of Rage, uses someone else's rage to his own benefit and manipulation.
Absolutely,
but the one thing I gotta point out real quick is I love how much that these recent Star Wars projects have made the attack on the Jedi Temple seem as horrifying as it should be. Because as much as I love the Order 66 scene in Revenge of the Sith, there are parts of it that have been memed to hell for years. Specifically the youngling scene. So to actually see it be shown in its true, no, this is just straight up a massacre, and getting to see the perspectives of the people experiencing it has been just very compelling TV for me.
Right, because this is the first time we've had connections to people that we see in those scenes. Like, we've never seen those younglings that we saw in Revenge of the Sith before, other than that scene, and a bunch of the Jedi that we see, in the main halls. We don't ever really see them other than, in background shots. And now, having seen, Reva's perspective and Grogu's perspective during Order 66, it actually, puts that fear within you when you're watching it, for the first time.
And her retelling of, saying, the only friends and family that she ever had seeing get slaughtered right in front of her while she could do nothing. Just hurts.
It's so sad.
But again, I thought that this was gonna be it for Reva. I was like Tala, Nedby, and Reva all in one episode.
I thought he was gonna do a Count Dooku. I thought he was gonna do a Count Dooku.
I think everyone when he had the two sabers, I thought that's what we were going.
I did not think that. I was just like, oh crap, Vader with two blades. This is hot.
Fair enough.
All right, enough of you.
Not this was hot, but it's just we've never. This show. Here's the thing that I've said it before. This show is delivering stuff we just never would have thought of. If you told me oh yeah, Vader would wield just even for a second two red blades in the Kenobi show, I wouldn't believe you. But he did.
It has.
And I'm
it really reminds me of when we saw Palpatine use two sabers in the Clone Wars for the first time, and I freaked out. Correct me if I'm wrong, but is this the first time that we've seen two red sabers duel each other in live action?
Yeah, it is.
It is? Okay. Because I know we had the Maul and Sidious duel, which I just brought up a second ago.
Maul and Sidious, and then Maul versus Inquisitors. So this is the first time also we've ever seen two Red Blades fight that didn't have Maul involved.
That we know of.
Yes.
Maybe Maul was in the background the whole time, but I hope not. Yeah, no, this scene was so good. But then bringing it back to them on the shuttle, the transport, and the look on Obi-Wan's face when he's like, something's wrong. And then we cut back and we see Reva discovering the communicator. And we see her discovering Luke and the twins. So what was running through your mind when this happened here? Because it was just, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit for me.
Yeah, for me it was, oh shit. This is going to be an interesting finale because it's now going to be Vader versus Obi-Wan somewhere, and then Reva on Tatooine. Because here's the thing, like,
Well, I'm just wondering how she gets off of Jabim without just bleeding out. Like, that's
It's
my...
The back to tank's right there.
it's Moses Ingram. Let's be real here.
She'll probably use the lightsaber to like
powerful.
cauterize the wound or
It's
something.
Moses, like,
Yeah.
that's my explanation for people now. If they're like, oh yeah, how do you think Reva survived? Like, dude, it's Moses Ingram. She's just built different.
So, like, I mean, we said we're not going to do predictions, but we're going to get that duel, but then, like, is it going to be, like, a race back to Tatooine? Or, like,
I feel like it might be a simultaneous thing, right? Like, Obi-Wan was preoccupied with
Vader.
Vader somewhere else. I feel like someone else is going to have to step up to stop Reva from going after Luke.
Bail
Or we
Organa.
might just get a total plot twist.
maybe.
And
Yeah.
it might be something different. Maybe Reva understands that, there's another child there that that Obi-Wan has some kind of connection to, and maybe she just doesn't pursue.
Or
maybe Luke just like what runs off again, like in episode 1, and just comes across Reva and they have a conversation, and she
or-
basically
Yeah.
Or Reva helps Luke, which...
Yeah.
She
I don't know,
doesn't
because
die.
I don't know where they're going to go with this, because part of me
feel like
thinks
it could
that
go
her
either way.
knowing that the twins exist means that they've just cursed her to die. But also I feel like
Well,
if
she
you're gonna
doesn't
kill
know that
her
they're
off-
twins, though, does she? She only knows that there's another child on Tatooine that Bail and Obi-Wan have some sort of relationship
see, I'll
with,
have
right?
to rewatch the episode because I don't remember what the
Wait, say
exact
that
lines
again,
were.
Jake.
I think the only thing that she knows is that there's another child on Tatooine that Bail and Obi-Wan have some sort of relationship with. I don't think she explicitly understands that.
No,
But didn't
They're
didn't Bale
twins
say
with
Lars
Leia.
in the
Owen.
transmission?
She just said Owen.
I
Owen.
think
said
so.
Owen,
Yeah,
so
he
she'll
just said
know
Owen.
it's Owen. She'll know that it was
Owen
like the same
will
person.
help the boy, and
Yeah.
that's
I
it.
still
She
have
just-
to wonder, though, right? Like, she lost to Vader on Jabim in the path, or in the where the paths operate out of. I wonder if that's almost like a rebirth moment, kind of, for her, and we might see her, right? Because they obviously want you to think that she's going to go after Luke, but if she doesn't, if this is like her kind of rebirth moment, and she uses this as a way to help, it would be really cool if they, please, guys, don't kill her. It would be really sick to see her live and then end up helping other Jedi escape through the paths.
Yeah, like I feel like they have to have her live because I feel like you had the perfect death scene right there, getting stabbed by Vader. Like
Yeah.
you can't one up that. But I,
do-
also
I
feel
do
like
have
her
a theory
knowing
that-
about Luke is her curse to die. So
Yeah.
I don't
I
know
mean,
where they're going to go
here's
with this.
the thing. Well, no,
Like-
because here's the thing. I think we'll run into the same wonderful. I will never get over this. The fact that the Inquisitors do not know Kenobi is on Tatooine.
Yeah.
I wonder if this will be the same thing where it's like she knows there's a kid and she gets close, but she never sees him and she never discovers that like it's Luke.
Yeah.
Right, because she has no way of knowing that this kid is anything other than
Some
just
kid that
the
Owen-
nephew of a farmer on Tatooine, right?
yeah,
and
and
so,
like
like-
that Bail and Obi-Wan have some sort of connection with.
Right.
then
I
the-
don't feel like her knowing Leia was her sentence to die, and I don't think that her knowing the existence of Luke is her sentence to die either. I really do feel like that scene is a little bit more of a misdirection because they wanted more of a kind of cliffhanger to end this episode off on.
Oh, that shot of Luke. Oh,
It is very
Yeah.
possible. It's possible that that's the case. I mean, my brother presented me with a theory that Owen could actually like kill Reva because there is that story in that Visionaries book, Old Wounds, where like Obi-Wan fights Maul when Maul comes to light and Maul attacks Luke to draw Obi-Wan out, and then Owen shoots Maul in the head whilst he's distracted fighting Obi-Wan, and I feel like That is possible
I feel
because
like that's not going to happen here.
there was that
That sounds
line.
really dumb.
It is really dumb, and I hope
That
it doesn't
sounds-
happen. But there is
I'm
that
gonna be, I
line
really hope that
where
doesn't happen.
she did say to Owen, "Do you think you can protect your family from me?" So it would be kind of a grim payoff. But I just don't. I don't think she will die. I actually have high hopes that Reva will live.
I feel like
It would be a
Lucasfilm has
nice
to have kind of
consolation.
learned from the past.
Yeah, it would be
Like
a nice
they've
Plus,
kind of
with
killed
all
so
the-
consolation,
many
wouldn't it, for
redeemed.
Obi-Wan. Yeah, for a Sith to be for a Darksider to be
Yeah.
redeemed and live
Yeah,
past their redemption,
it,
and have
it feels
Obi-Wan
like
be
their
central to
go-to.
it.
It's about time they've done something different with it.
Plus,
If this
all
is
the-
another instance of that, it's predictable.
Yeah.
Plus all the hate that like Moses has gotten, it would feel kind of in bad
See,
taste.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there are those reports that they have like that they're supposed to be doing a season. They might be doing a season 2, and that they reworked the ending. But then who knows, like how viable that is. But yeah, I'd
We're
love
not
to see
gonna discuss
Moses
that.
survive. Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to see Moses make it out of the season, and for Reva to just attain some kind of redemption, because I feel like there's more stories you could tell with that, and to have Obi-Wan maybe play a role in that, it would be a kind of nice consolation for him, because we know he's not going to redeem Anakin. We know
I
he's
feel
not
like
going
he's
to
definitely
get
going to
through.
play a role in Reva's redemption if
Yeah,
it does happen.
because it would kind of dovetail nicely with like the themes of the story, because this is probably going to go down as one of the darkest Disney Plus shows for Star Wars, one of the darkest live action projects for Star Wars in general. But the whole tagline has been, between darkness and defeat, hope survives. And I think having Reva, after all, going through all of that darkness, to actually find a light in the end and find redemption would be a really interesting way to go. Because yeah, I could see a version of like where she dies and it works within the story, but then it would just kind of feel like we're just doing Triller again from Jedi Fallen Order, and it would be a shame
Yep.
to see that the show kind of fall back on repeating a similar story.
What would you like to see with Reva's story, Chloe? Like, do you have any like ideas or like hopes, or are you just like
Yeah,
along
so
for the
I
run?
think so I mean, obviously I don't want to make predictions because I feel like that's just going to lead us down like a path that I personally don't want to go down. But I mean, I would certainly like to see her survive and be redeemed. I really, I love myself a good redemption arc, and I mean, I think she's had the perfect setup so far to have one. So like, I think if that's something they wanted to write, that could be really interesting, and I would love to see her in future Star Wars media. So yeah, I think that's kind of where I stand on it right now.
I agree. I just hope they don't kill her if they redeem her. Like, if they redeem her, let her live.
Oh, for sure.
That's
Yeah,
my
no, that was
that's my
absolutely.
mindset there. It's like, if we're gonna keep redeeming characters, which I hope we do, because I'm with you. I love redemption arcs. I just hate it when they're cheapened by, and then we got to kill them. Like, it just I don't want to see that again. We've seen that enough. I know it's not gonna happen, but seeing this last shot of Luke, it won't happen at all, and I actually don't want it to happen. But at the same time, if we got to see young Luke and young Leia together, even if they didn't know who they were, my heart would melt. But it won't happen. But
I feel like Obi-Wan will have his final scene with Leia within like the first 5 minutes, because I feel like there is that line. There is that line.
Goodbye.
Yeah, because like there's the thing, because I actually, when I first watched it, I actually thought that was it for Vader, that we wouldn't see any more Vader after this, because Vader got delayed and then the transport goes off. But then there's that line about the hyperdrive being down, and he says they're right behind us, and it's a Star Destroyer, which means the episode's probably going to open with a recreation of that scene from A New Hope, with the transport fleeing and the Star Destroyer coming after it, which will be awesome. But I think that's also why Obi-Wan has to face Vader again. So I think somehow Obi-Wan's probably gonna like have to go on the Star Destroyer and actually fight Vader and distract him, so that
I
everyone else can
swear
get.
to God, if we get Obi-Wan and Darth fucking Vader fighting on a fucking Star Destroyer, I will
With the
lose.
concept, it would match up with the concept art. That's all I'm saying. Because I was saying the concept art matched with Fortress Inquisitorius. I think it's a Star Destroyer. I think that's how they're gonna fight. I think it'll mess the Star Destroyer up, and that's how
interesting, 'cause,
Obi-Wan
like,
will get away.
There's the
Because
lava, and it's like lava doesn't pour out from a Star Destroyer.
Yeah,
Like,
I
also,
feel like they're gonna overload the engines and stuff, and I feel like it'll go down, which would be cool. It would rhyme with the Siege of Mandalore when the Venator goes down, and I feel like that would be a good chance for Obi-Wan to kind of like fake his death, because I feel like Obi-Wan
he
has
has
to
to do
appear dead
something
to
like
everyone.
that where it's
Yeah,
like Vader
everyone else
can't
thinks
know.
where everyone thinks he's dead, but Vader's not quite sure, because there is that line in Rebels where he's talking to the Emperor, and like they're talking about Ahsoka and how Ahsoka could lead them to other lost Jedi, and Vader says, "Oh, such as Kenobi," and the Emperor's response is, "Perhaps if he lives." And I'm like, well, then everyone else must think Obi-Wan is dead then, apart from Vader. So that would make a lot of sense. That would make a lot of sense, and it's a easy way for the Roken and the Path people to get away with Leia and deliver her back to Alderaan. I feel like that makes the most sense, and it's also a
That
cool
does
setting for
make
a
a lot of
duel.
sense.
All
Also,
I'm saying is, if any of the other Path people die next episode, my heart can't take it. There's been enough
Tala was
pain in
enough.
this week.
Tala was already too much. Tala was already too much.
Yes.
Let
I can't
Roken
take any
survive.
more.
Let that
Let
man
them all
show.
survive so we
Let
can get
Harja
a
make it
Path
through.
spin-off show.
Let
Yeah, they've
Roken
got to
show up in Andor. Like,
or like Jedi
Oh,
Fallen
that
or
would be
Jedi
cool.
Survivor. Yeah, that would be cool.
Oh yeah, Jedi Survivor would make a lot of sense.
again, like I'm with some people that I want to expand the universe, but also if you're gonna have all these shows, having just little things like that connect them, I'm totally okay with.
Especially when they touch on similar topics, right? Like Andor is about the rebellion, and so the people that work through the paths are connected to the rebellion, and then Jedi Fallen Order feels like it's getting closer and closer to the rebellion, right? So there's those connective factors that you have that make those connections make sense. It's like how Taika Waititi was saying how he doesn't want to just throw Chewbacca's grandmother in there for the sake of making a connection. Those are the dumb connections that we don't need, that make the galaxy feel smaller. But when you have different stories that are touching on similar topics and you find connections to make there, that's fine. That's cool. Do that.
Especially if you're also having like similar creative teams work on these shows, like we've seen with the High Republic, having all of them work together to incorporate those
Yep.
stories together. If they want to do that with everything that they're working on, I'm completely fine with it. Especially if you're going to have, I mean, it's all in the same canon, anyways. So it would be nice if we got like, a Path reference in Andor, because at this point, it is still just different sectors of the rebellion. They're not one like established united rebel alliance just yet. And that's something I'm loving about this and Solo and Andor, is getting to see these different aspects of the early stages of the rebellion. And the Path really worked for me because they weren't soldiers, and then they became them. And
Yeah,
it's just,
they're like humanitarian workers, aren't they? Effectively, like people
because
who
of
volunteer, who
and
put their lives on the line,
and
which is
Obi-Wan
really cool.
doing literally everything he can to protect these people that he just met like a day or
Yeah.
two ago.
Yeah, it's very Obi-Wan.
It's
Like,
such a great story.
we
It's
got
just-
General Kenobi. Like, this is a good time, I think, to mention we got General Kenobi. Like, he was strategizing, he was organizing them, and he does the Jedi thing where he tries to protect life. He's not focused on taking life, he's focused on helping people.
On
So, like,
defending life.
like he helps people up off the ground, like he helps Corran Horn's mother when she gets like wounded by a blaster bolt, and he's just constantly trying to like defend everyone, which is why Tala's death is so gutting for him.
That was another line
Yeah,
in the flashback, wasn't it? Like, doesn't Obi-Wan
Yeah.
say something similar, like a Jedi?
You grow to aggressive, Anakin.
Yeah.
A Jedi's role is to protect life, not take
It's
it,
to
and then
defend life.
defend life. Yes, and then Anakin's retort is mercy doesn't defeat an enemy, master, which was just perfectly delivered by Hayden, and so represents their mindsets really, because you've got Anakin questioning the Jedi's teachings and having a valid point occasionally because of how merciless some enemies can be, but also like how Anakin peace and balance just continues to elude him, even like through his like years as a Jedi Knight. And that's what's great about those flashbacks, just to bring it full circle, is that those flashbacks, they tell a story, and they're really joyous because we're seeing these two again, but there's sadness throughout, and it gets progressively sadder because we see the like conflict in Anakin, and we see Anakin like slowly be laid bare a bit more and more, like how he's left wanting all the time. Like even when Obi-Wan gives him that lesson, he's not satisfied. He wanted more out of that exchange. Even though Obi-Wan is trying his best to be a teacher, like Anakin feels almost kind of like shortchanged, and it's so sad, and it's so indicative of like the split they go through and how Anakin is ultimately seduced to the dark side.
Yeah. Connor's made a couple pitches this episode, so I'm going to make mine right here. Lucasfilm, if you're listening, you saw how much everyone loved those Ewan and Hayden flashbacks. If you want to greenlight just like a Disney Plus movie or something of just the two of them in like a Clone Wars adventure, please. I think they'd want to do it. I think we'd all like to see something like that. Please. But yeah, that's my piece. I feel like we're close to putting things together. Does anyone else have any big things they want to say before we hit the end game here?
It's wild that this show's almost over.
I'm not.
Yeah, that
ready
makes me
for it
really
to-
sad.
I'm not ready for it to be over. I really
I'm
am
not ready, but I'm also really ready to rewatch it in full.
Same,
That's-
but like I have
Yeah.
not had this much fun with Star Wars in like years. To
Yeah,
be
you're
honest
on a
with
high
you.
right now.
No, like seriously,
So-
like it's just insane. Like the things that the show has been able to like make me feel, and it's like I don't want it to end. It's gonna be fun to rewatch it all, but like I
Yeah.
love this week to week excitement, and like
Discussion.
obviously we have Endor coming out soon, and I'm sure that's gonna be great too because it's done out of Pinewood, and there's a great team working on that. But man, this show is something special. It's crazy.
I'm just excited to watch the episodes and then every week, be able to talk with you all about them and share my excitement with everyone. Like that's just it's such a great experience.
Yeah,
But
these weekly Kenobi episodes have been so much fun, so we definitely need to do this with like every single new thing that comes out. Andor,
Yeah.
Bad Batch,
I
Tales
will.
of the Jedi.
Don't you worry. We were talking about our plans the other night, and
Yeah.
I have so much in the pipeline.
Very
But yeah,
exciting.
I just ever since like Celebration to into Kenobi, it's just felt like a really special time to be a
Yeah.
Star Wars fan right now.
Yeah,
And I hope that they stick the landing and they continue to promote their shows and market their shows and just do it like the way that they've been doing with Kenobi, because it just, I feel like they finally found the right spot of getting everyone excited and actually like heavily promoting it at the same time. And they got to stick with it.
And it
because-
helps that it was supposed to be a movie too.
Yeah.
So
If the finale sticks the landing, which judging by the way the show has gone so far, I have no doubt they will. This is going to be a very, very all-time special Star Wars project for me.
same.
But yeah,
yeah.
I think we're all in
It'll be a
agreement.
top. It'll be a top four Star Wars project from the new canon for me.
I actually am
Yeah.
100% there with you.
No, wait. At least top 5. I don't know about top 4 because like I don't know.
Yeah,
No.
new canon, it's probably top 3. At least,
I gotta.
granted,
I still have to.
if the
think about
last
everything.
episode is on par with how these last 5 episodes have been, absolutely.
Yeah,
Everything depends on the finale right now, I think, in terms of just
Yeah.
like I don't feel comfortable ranking it with anything until I've seen the finale.
Yeah,
and
I
then the
don't
whole
want to. I don't want to
story
rank it until we have a
Yeah.
finished product.
same.
But
Same.
it is just great to think about it because next week we're gonna get it. The rematch and
I
then
can't believe it's gonna be next. week
everything
already.
else. Like it's just so cool. I just wish you were doing the Lucasfilm was doing the theatrical release everywhere and not just certain areas because
Yeah, why is only
What
Canada get it? That's messed up.
I would kill to
Deborah
see
Chow,
this on the big
probably.
screen. Deborah Chow, you are my savior. Thank you for this episode and all of them. These have been just great. And yeah, no, this episode was just amazing. And I was crying for at least an hour after I finished watching it and my eyes were bloodshot. But it's okay because now I got to finally talk about it and I'm very excited. So I feel like we've talked about, well, no, we haven't talked about everything we can. We could still probably go another 2 hours if we wanted to, but I feel like this is the perfect time to wrap things up. We will obviously be here next week to talk about the season series finale of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Hopefully the whole crew will be back here again. It's going to be a big one. You will not want to miss that. But also, if you're just tuning in for the first time or you've only been listening to our Obi-Wan Kenobi recaps, we have our main show, which is going through the Clone Wars. And if you thought the episode of Kenobi we just talked about was great, the episode of Clone Wars, or the episodes of Clone Wars that we talked about this week are even better. That's all I'll say. So... yeah, because not that you want to talk about Vader and Reva, R2 and R3. That's an all timer right there.
Yeah. And Ron Perlman's guest appearance is like an all timer, like voice cameo in Star Wars.
Just great.
Ripping ass the whole time.
I cannot wait to never watch those again. But we'll wrap things up here. So if we want to just tell everyone where we can find you, anything we're working on right now. Chloe, since you're back here for the first time in a couple weeks, how about you start things off?
Sure, yeah. So if you want to find me other places, my username is Lightsaber Queen without the E in lightsaber. I have the same username on TikTok, Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram. So anywhere you want to find me in my torrent of content that I've been posting lately, there you can find it.
Perfect. Don?
Right. You can find me on Twitter at Donovan Mead. I have Donovan_McComish on Instagram, and you can also find me on sweditorig.com, where I've been writing articles and even stories for the SWEF. So it's Star Wars Is it Star Wars expanded fiction, Connor?
Star Wars editor fiction.
Star Wars editor
Yeah.
fiction, of course. Right. So Star Wars editor fiction, where Connor, Jake, and I and others are like, we all write stories. They can range from short stories to web comics, and the whole angle here is that they're all fan stories, but we all try and align them with the continuity of the current like Star Wars canon. I recently released a story there called Scars of War that Jake did really awesome cover art for it. It's about a clone trooper and a Jedi that have survived Order 66, and it's kind of exploring similar themes to the Obi-Wan show. So yeah, if you've been liking the themes that this show has been exploring, maybe check that out. Maybe there'll be something there will appeal to you. Yeah, I had a lot of fun writing it, and yeah, it's been really cool.
Yeah, we've talked about it a couple times. It's great. I would definitely check that out. Jake?
Yep, so you guys can find me on Twitter at JediJake_. Like Don said, I'm part of the SWE fiction. I'm part of the story group there, and I have, I believe it's 3 stories coming out before the end of the year. A comic, a short story, and a novel. And if y'all want to learn more about those, make sure you join the Discord, because that's where all 5 of us, we are all in there. And it's awesome. It's a really, really dope community, and everyone's super nice. And that's pretty rare in the Star Wars Webernet. A lot of Star Wars fans suck, but not in the SWE Discord. So go there.
I agree. Connor, how about you?
They can find me on Twitter at DepaBanana. I talk Star Wars as well as other things. You can also find me as another co-host at the Nerd Academy podcast, specifically our Star Wars show, Knights of the Nerd Republic. We talk Star Wars there, news, interviews, topic episodes, what have you. Find us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, pretty much wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find us there. And as Jake and Don said, I'm also part of SWEF. I write articles. I have a story coming out before the end of the year. I will not say anything more. I am also part of the story group. It's a really fun team of creative people that I get to talk to, and I'm glad to call them all friends. So check us out. Yeah, sweditorIG.com.
Perfect. And you can follow me on TikTok and Twitter at Starlight Andrew. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at For the Repub Pod. Hope to see you there. And on Instagram at For the Republic Pod for any further updates on the podcast. We'll be posting new episodes, stuff like that. And of course, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, literally wherever you get your podcasts. Search For the Republic and you can find us. Next week, we'll be talking Obi-Wan finale. It's going to be a big one. I hope to see you there with us. But until next time, may the Force be with you always.